What if I told you the most powerful way to make someone want you again doesn't require a single word? No long texts, no emotional confessions, no explaining how much you've changed. Instead, it's about flipping the dynamic entirely. It's about walking into a room and letting your energy do the talking. An energy that says, I'm not waiting. I'm not chasing. I've already moved forward. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to pull them back is the moment they feel. When you stop being so accessible, when you let them feel the sting of your absence, suddenly your value skyrockets. They don't hear from you. They don't see you in the same old places. And that unpredictability starts to gnaw at them. You don't need to say you've grown. They'll see it. They'll see you glowing, thriving, and they'll realize they no longer have the same hold over you. That's when curiosity turns into desire. That's when the tables turn. But here's the secret. You can't fake it. You have to move on for real. And when you do, they won't be able to ignore it. You know what's fascinating? Most of us think the way to get someone back is through the perfect words, the perfect text, the perfect apology, the perfect explanation that will somehow make them see what they're missing. But that's not how attraction works. That's not how desire is reawakened. Because the truth is, long before you open your mouth, people can already feel you. Your energy speaks louder than anything you could ever say. It's in the way you carry yourself when you walk into a room. It's in your posture, your smile, the calmness in your presence. And when you've been left or rejected, most people don't realize they're radiating an energy of need, of desperation, of trying too hard to prove something to the other person. That energy isn't attractive. It's heavy. It says, you still have power over me. I'm not okay unless you choose me again. And that right there kills curiosity. It kills desire. If you want them to start wondering about you again, missing you, even craving you, you have to first shift the energy you're putting out. Instead of asking, how do I make them want me? You have to start asking, how do I make me want me? Because when you're impressing yourself, it changes everything. Think about it. When was the last time you did something that genuinely made you proud? Not for anyone else to see, not for validation, but just for you. That's the place you need to operate from now. Because when you're focused on building a life that excites you, you naturally radiate confidence, lightness, and magnetism. That's the kind of energy that makes someone stop and think, wait, what's different about them? But when you're still caught up in their orbit, checking their social media, replaying memories, waiting for them to reach out, you're still giving them your power. You're still saying, my happiness depends on you. And people can feel that, even if you don't say it out loud. It shows in the way you text too quickly when they finally do message you. It shows in the way you over-explain yourself or try too hard to sound unaffected. So here's the paradox. The less you focus on them, the more magnetic you become to them. When you stop chasing, stop needing, and start living in a way that makes you feel alive again, they feel the shift. It's almost like a string between the two of you suddenly goes slack. And that's when they start to pull on it again to see if it's still there. The people who get their exes back, the ones who make someone regret walking away, they aren't the ones sending long, emotional letters or begging for another chance. They're the ones who quietly go and rebuild. They're in the gym, working on their health, not to post a thirst trap, but because they want to feel strong again. They're out meeting new people, not to make their ex jealous, but because they're genuinely expanding their circle and their energy. And so I say to all of you out there who aren't procrastinating and they're learning new skills, chasing old dreams, showing up every day for themselves. And you might think, but what if they don't notice? That's the beauty of this. You're not doing it for them to notice. You're doing it because you deserve to feel proud of the person you see in the mirror every morning. That's what flips the script. You stop trying to get them to see your value and start seeing it for yourself. And when you do, they will notice. They'll notice in the way you don't respond instantly anymore. They'll notice in the way your messages have a different tone, not cold, but calm and light, like you're not holding your breath, waiting for them. They'll notice in the way your eyes light up in your photos, not because of them, but because you found something bigger than them to light you up. Here's the truth. Attraction isn't about convincing someone. It's about creating an emotional experience they want to be part of again. And that starts with you. When you show up full of life, with nothing to prove and nothing to chase, they'll start asking themselves questions they haven't asked in a long time. Why do they seem so different? Are they over me? Did I misjudge their value? Those questions plant the seeds of desire. But this only works if it's real. You can't fake this shift. If you try to use it as a tactic, posting calculated photos, pretending you're busy, playing games, they'll feel that too. People aren't stupid. They can sense authenticity. So you have to commit to doing this for you. And ironically, when you do, that's when you stop needing them, and that's when they start needing you. It's not about words, it's about energy. Change yours, and you'll change the entire dynamic. There's a strange irony when it comes to attraction. The more available you make yourself to someone who's taken you for granted, the less urgency they feel to value you. Think about it. When they know you're there, waiting, hoping, even quietly longing for another chance, it doesn't create desire. It creates comfort. It creates predictability. And predictability never makes someone stop in their tracks and think, what have I done? What if I lose them forever? We want to believe that showing someone how much we care will melt their heart. But often, the opposite happens. They begin to take our presence as a given. Your texts, they don't feel exciting anymore because they know they can get them whenever they want. Your time, it doesn't feel precious because they've never had to work to earn it. You've become emotionally abundant in their world. And here's the truth. Anything abundant loses its perceived value. Scarcity is what makes people wake up. Scarcity is what makes someone pay attention. When you step back, not as a game, not to punish them, but to protect your own energy, you change the dynamic entirely. Suddenly, they're not sure anymore. They don't know if you're still thinking about them every night. They don't know if your world still revolves around them. And that uncertainty, that's what creates tension. That's what forces them to stop coasting and start wondering. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. Pulling back requires you to fight every instinct that wants to prove your worth to them. There's a voice in your head saying, if I stay close, if I show up for them, they'll remember how amazing I am. That voice is wrong. The truth is, they already know what you offer. They're just not feeling the risk of losing it. When you keep showing up, there's no space for them to miss you, no time for the memory of you to feel heavier than your presence. This isn't about being cold. This isn't about being cruel. It's about breaking the pattern that's keeping you stuck. When someone has gotten used to your love being a constant, you have to show them that it's not something they can cancel and pick up again whenever they want. You're a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And if they don't value you, someone else will. The power in this shift is that it stops being about them and starts being about you. When you pull back, you reclaim your focus. You pour your energy into the things that light you up again. The people who make you laugh, the hobbies you forgot you loved, the goals you set aside while you were busy thinking about them. And as you begin to thrive in your own space, something incredible happens. They feel the gap you've left. They feel the weight of your absence in a way they never could when you were always there. Imagine this. The texts they used to delay answering, now feel strangely quiet when they don't see your name pop up anymore. The stories they post feel a little emptier when they don't know if you've seen them. That comfortable certainty they had starts to erode, and as it does, curiosity takes its place. Are they moving on? Have they met someone new? Are they still thinking about me at all? That's the moment the script flips. That's the moment they feel what you felt. The longing, the wondering, the ache to close the distance. But here's the paradox. The shift only works if you're not waiting for it to. You can't sit there in silence, refreshing your phone, hoping they'll notice. Because then you're not really gone, you're just hiding. And they'll sense that too. The real magic happens when you genuinely invest in yourself so deeply that their attention becomes irrelevant. When you no longer need their validation, you become infinitely more attractive. People don't chase what's easy to reach. They chase what feels like it's slipping away. So instead of leaning in harder, let them lean in for once. Instead of reminding them how much you care, remind yourself how much you deserve. When you pull your energy back, you don't just make them want you again. You remind yourself that you were never meant to beg for love in the first place. Because the moment they feel your absence, they're forced to ask themselves a question they've been avoiding. What if I've already lost them? Far more powerful than anything you could ever say. You see, this is where most people get it completely backwards. The moment we feel we're losing someone, we start reaching for words. We text them paragraphs trying to explain how much we've changed, how much we've grown, how they didn't really see our best self before. We write apologies, send late-night messages, or try to arrange meetups just so we can have one more chance to talk it out. But here's the truth. Words won't save you here. In fact, words often work against you. Because the more you try to convince someone with language, the more desperate you seem. And desperation is the opposite of attraction. What actually makes someone sit up and take notice isn't what you say, it's what you do. It's who you're becoming while they're not around to see it every day. When they look over and see you living a life that's exciting, confident, and full, even without them in it, it creates a ripple effect they can't ignore. It's in those moments when they're scrolling and see a photo of you laughing with friends, or when a mutual friend mentions how great you've been doing, that their mind starts turning. Not because they can feel it. That's the power of showing, not telling. Think about it. Imagine someone you've drifted away from suddenly comes to you and says, "I'm so much better now. I've changed. I've grown. I'm doing all these amazing things." There's a part of your brain that will naturally resist. You'll think, well, if you're doing so great, why do you need to tell me? Why are you here trying to prove it? But if instead you just hear about them living this vibrant, exciting life, and you see it in their energy and their choices, you feel drawn in without even realizing why. You're intrigued. You want to know more. That's the effect you want to have on them. So the question becomes, what does showing look like in practice? It means shifting your focus entirely away from trying to get them to notice you and placing it firmly on building a life that makes you excited to wake up every day. Instead of crafting the perfect message to send them, craft a version of yourself that doesn't need their validation anymore. That doesn't mean you don't care about them. It means you care about you more. Pick up the hobbies you always talked about, but never started. Go to the gym, not because you want to make them jealous, but because you want to feel powerful in your own skin. Rekindle old friendships that might have faded because you were so focused on that relationship. Travel somewhere new, learn something that challenges you. Do whatever makes you come alive again. Because when you're alive, people notice. And yes, that includes them. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be happy just so they see it. People can feel fake energy a mile away. This is about genuinely filling your life with experiences, people, and habits that bring out your best self. Because when you do that, you don't even have to try to impress anyone. It radiates naturally. The irony is that the moment you stop trying to prove your worth is usually the moment people realize how much they underestimated it. There's also something deeply attractive about mystery. If they're used to you explaining yourself all the time, texting updates, answering their every question, being an open book, then silence paired with action is deafening. It makes them wonder, what's going on in their world? Are they over me? Are they happy without me? That curiosity can pull them toward you far more powerfully than any words you could say. Remember, attraction isn't logical, it's emotional. And emotions aren't triggered by long speeches or persuasive arguments. They're triggered by subtle signals that someone's value has increased. Your job now is to focus on increasing your value, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that actually serves you. Because if they don't notice, someone else will. So stop rehearsing what you'll say if you bump into them. Stop checking if they've watched your stories or liked your posts, and start asking yourself, what can I do today to become more of the person I've always wanted to be? That's where the magic happens. Not in words, but in who you are when no one's watching. And when they finally do notice, when they reach out again because they can feel the shift in your energy. Why? And when they finally do notice, when they reach out again because they can feel the shift in your energy, you won't need to convince them of anything. Your life will speak for itself. There's something incredibly powerful about silence, and not the awkward, passive kind of silence where you're secretly hoping they'll reach out first. I'm talking about intentional silence, the kind that doesn't come from fear or playing games, but from strength. Because here's the truth. When someone walks out of your life, they often think they know the whole story. They think they know you. They think they've figured you out, and in their mind, they've placed you neatly into a little box. And once you're in that box, they don't see you as a mystery anymore. They don't feel pulled toward you because their brain has already decided, I know who this person is, and I know how they fit into my world. But when you step back and allow space to exist, real space, not the kind where you're secretly watching their stories or dropping little crumbs of your attention, you disrupt that narrative they've created about you. Suddenly, you're not there to reinforce their version of who you are. You're not there to prove anything, explain yourself, or remind them of your worth. And that's when the magic begins. People don't miss someone who's constantly trying to prove their value. They don't desire what feels too available, too predictable, too easy to understand. They miss someone when there's a gap, when there's silence, when there's no more reassurance that they still have a place in your world. And it's not about being manipulative. It's about recognizing your own value and refusing to beg someone to see it. Think about it. If you're constantly reaching out, if you're always checking in, trying to stay on good terms or maintain a connection, you're giving them constant evidence that they still matter to you, that you haven't moved on. And as long as they believe they have you, they don't have to feel your loss. They don't have to question their decision because you're still feeding the story they've already written about you. But when you stop, when you pull your energy back, that's when the narrative starts to crack. That's when they're left with their own thoughts. wondering why they haven't heard from you. That's when they realize they can't quite picture where you are or what you're doing. And human beings can't stand uncertainty. Our brains crave closure, and when they don't get it, they start filling in the blanks. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When someone can't see you, when they don't have access to you anymore, their mind starts to play tricks on them. They remember you not as you really are, but as an amplified version of you. They start replaying old moments, questioning what went wrong, and sometimes even romanticizing the parts they took for granted. And that's the power of space. It allows them to experience the absence of you. But you can't fake this. You can't just go quiet while secretly sitting by the phone waiting for them to notice. They'll feel that energy. True silence comes from letting go of the need to control how they see you. It comes from turning inward, focusing on your own life, and allowing yourself to evolve into someone they no longer recognize. That's what flips the script, because the person they left isn't the person you're becoming. And when they finally do see you again, whether it's through a mutual friend, online, or even in person, they won't be looking at the same version of you they thought they knew. They'll be met with someone different, someone who's grown, someone who's not waiting. And in that moment, their old narrative about you no longer fits. This isn't about revenge. It's not about making them pay or playing mind games to get them back. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about refusing to be the person who pleads for attention or settles for breadcrumbs. It's about showing, without saying a single word, that your life is full, that you are whole, and that their absence didn't break you. And maybe, just maybe, as they sit there wondering why you're no longer in their orbit, they'll feel that unfamiliar ache, that tiny knot in their stomach that whispers, what if I made a mistake? What if they've really moved on? What if I can't get them back? That's the moment the script flips. And that's when they start realizing what they've lost. Think about this for a second. When someone feels like they know everything there is to know about you, where's the excitement? Where's the mystery? When they can predict how you'll react, what you'll say, or even what you'll post tomorrow, there's no reason for them to lean in. That's the thing about desire. It doesn't live in comfort zones. It doesn't grow in predictability. Desire thrives on curiosity, uncertainty, and that little edge of surprise that makes someone stop and say, wait, what's going on here? This is where so many people get stuck after a breakup. So this can be absolutely draining to people that have been stuck after a breakup. They don't realize that in trying to get their ex back, they become completely predictable. They post the same kind of stories to get attention. They like their photos at just the right time, or they leave little breadcrumbs thinking if they see this, maybe they'll remember what we had. But what they don't see is that every move like this is teaching their ex, you're still in my orbit. You're still thinking about me. I'm still here waiting. And there's nothing magnetic about that. To flip the script, you have to interrupt the pattern. You have to do the one thing they don't expect. Become unpredictable in the most powerful way possible. That doesn't mean playing games. It doesn't mean trying to make them jealous or creating false drama. It means stepping so fully into your own life that they can't pin you down anymore. Suddenly, the version of you they thought they knew starts to shift. You're not posting the same old things. You're not showing up in the same places. The routines they had around you don't work anymore because you're no longer following the same script. And that's when their mind starts spinning. Maybe you used to text back instantly. Now you take your time because you're actually busy, not faking it, but because you're investing in your friendships, your passions, your work. Maybe you always said yes to meeting up if they called. Now you're not available because your calendar is full. They can no longer predict your moves. They can no longer take for granted that you're sitting there waiting for them to make a decision. And here's the beautiful irony. When someone no longer feels certain of where they stand with you, they start working to figure it out. The same person who once felt secure in your presence, the one who thought, I can always come back if I want to, begins to feel that itch of uncertainty. That's the moment the dynamic shifts. Because they're no longer seeing you through the lens of the past, they're seeing a new version of you, someone whose life is full, vibrant, and impossible to pin down. But this only works if it's real. If you're sitting there thinking, all right, I'll post this fun-looking photo, I'll delay my replies and that'll make them chase me, they'll feel the game, they'll sense it's contrived. And even worse, you'll still be tied to their validation, making your every move about getting their attention. That's not power. That's still giving it all away. True unpredictability isn't about being erratic or manipulative. It's about breaking free from the version of you that revolved around them. It's about growing into someone they can't read anymore. Not because you're trying to confuse them, but because you're finally focused on yourself. You're going new places, meeting new people, having new experiences that aren't about them at all. That's magnetic. That's when they scroll through your photos or hear about you from someone and think, oh, I don't know this person anymore. What happened? What am I missing? When you break your old patterns, you change the story in their mind. You're no longer the person they left behind. You're someone they have to figure out all over again. And that's what creates intrigue. That's what pulls them in. The mistake most people make is believing that to win someone back, they need to talk more, explain more, prove more. But often, the most powerful thing you can do is create space. Let them feel the gap. Let them feel the shift. And then let your actions, not your words, speak for themselves. Because the moment they realize they can't predict you anymore, you've already won back their attention. So the moment they realize they can't predict you anymore, you've already won back their attention. You know what's interesting? The moment you truly begin moving on, not pretending, not posting cryptic quotes, not secretly hoping they'll see your glow up, but actually moving on, that's the exact moment the energy shifts. It's almost like people can feel it when they're no longer the center of your world. They sense on some deep, primal level that the cord tying you to them has loosened, and it creates a void they can't ignore. See, when someone believes you're still orbiting their life, they feel no urgency. They don't have to question what's happening or whether they could lose you for good. They assume you're still there, mentally, emotionally, waiting in the background, even if you're silent. That's why so many people don't even realize what they had until you stop making them the focus of your thoughts and start building something bigger for yourself. It's in that moment when you truly let go that they begin to feel your absence in ways they never did before. But here's the catch. This isn't about making them want you back. That can't be the motivation, because if it is, they'll feel it. They'll sense that every step you're taking is secretly tethered to them, and there's no power in that. The power comes when you move on for you, when you're no longer trying to prove anything, when you're no longer seeking validation, and when their opinion of you stops dictating how you show up in your own life. The paradox is that people are often drawn to what they feel they can't have, when they no longer feel your energy directed at them. When you stop showing up in ways they're used to, they're forced to confront a terrifying question. Did I lose them for good? That uncertainty sparks curiosity, and that curiosity often evolves into desire. But if you're still secretly hoping they'll notice, they'll pick up on that energy too, and it loses its potency. So what does moving on really look like? It's not about posting pictures to make them jealous. It's not about filling your calendar with distractions so you can tell yourself you're fine. It's about rebuilding your center of gravity. So it's about rebuilding your center of gravity. It's about finding what lights you up, not because they'll see it, but because you're tired of waiting for someone else to do it for you. It's about creating a life where even if they came back tomorrow, you'd pause and ask yourself, do they even fit here anymore? That's when everything changes. That's when you shift from chasing to choosing. And I know that sounds hard, especially if there's still a part of you that misses them, that wishes they'd wake up tomorrow and realize you were everything they needed. But let me ask you this. What's the alternative? Sitting in a holding pattern, waiting for them to decide your worth, sacrificing your present moment for the possibility of someone else's epiphany? That's not love. That's self-abandonment. You deserve to be someone's yes, not their maybe someday. And here's the truth. The fastest way to get there isn't to wait for them to come back. It's to walk so far down your own path that if they ever do show up again, they'd have to work to catch up. And even then, you're not guaranteeing them a place. You're not doing it for revenge or to teach them a lesson. You're doing it because you've decided your life is too precious to keep on hold. Ironically, that's when they're most likely to feel the full weight of what they lost. That's when the tables turn, not because you played games, but because you stopped playing theirs. And if they never come back, that's not a loss. That's clarity. That's life removing what wasn't strong enough to meet you where you're going. So move forward, not as a strategy, not as a performance, but as a commitment to yourself. When you stop orbiting them and start building your own universe, they'll either feel the pull of your gravity again or drift away completely. Either way, you win. Because at the end of the day, you don't need them to want you back. What you really need is to want you back.